Hi, welcome back to Geekified. You've seen probably about 7 or 8 episodes of a very different set, but we've never really had 4 people on set before since the wonderful Callum joined us. But we've also got a special guest here again because we're just moving up in the world, and we've got somebody now. When you think about people of Scotland, you think about gangsters, you think about dodgy characters of TV and film. There's one guy that comes to your head. One guy that always comes to your head. We're about to introduce him, but hi Callum, how are you?
I'm not too shabby. How are you?
Are you excited about this, guys?
I am indeed.
I'm not going to introduce Ryan because as soon as we cut the camera, we're going to have Ryan on shot. But it is
I'll just shout my voice.
But we have got the one and only Frank Gallagher.
Thank you very much.
Hi Frank, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Without missing out, Ryan. Hi Ryan, how are you?
I'm superb, man. Great to be here with Frank and yourself. So, just ready to find out some interesting stuff about Frank here, man. See what's happened. But it's a pleasure to have you.
Good man.
Good
Just
stuff.
Yeah. So only a few episodes ago, we had Martin McCarty here, who is executive producer, I can't get that out there, of River City, and wonderfully we managed to get Frank Gallagher, who was interested in coming on and having a wee discussion, which is absolutely fantastic because it's keeping a bit of a theme as well. That's it. We're going to be the River City podcast,
The official, unofficial
River City
podcast.
podcast that's going. But it's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Yep.
Pleased to be
We've
here,
not
boys.
not been in the pub.
I know. We may.
shame on
Oh,
you.
we may. Yeah, we've got a bit of a reputation. Like we do love a wee swally before we come on the show. That's
So we
just-
thought, what better than to take Frank to the pub first and
Yeah, just gotta be we wet the whistle. Wet the whistle.
get him on our level for once.
Exactly. Yeah. So back in the studio, and we're here, and yeah. So how long has it been now that you've been in River City?
18 years there in May.
18.
It's been a bit of, you get life, you're out in 15.
Aye. More time than Frank Gallagher might get. No, Frank Gallagher, Lenny, sorry. But,
Frank Gallagher's a different character.
Aye, different character, different show, mate. That's some amount of time for B1. I mean, you're talking about other, even some of the biggest soaps in the world. Like that amount of time is exceptional.
No, it's great. Aye, brought my wains up. I mean, when I first went into it, I think I was only supposed to be in it for like. In fact, when they phoned up and offered me, I think they offered me 3 weeks, and I told them, "Thank you, goodbye." And then they came back about 3 months later and said, "Come in, we'll give you 12 weeks." And I went, "Fine," and I went in. Done the 12 weeks. It was only when I was in there that I found out that although they contract you for 12, they only pay you for 6. Oh, because the way that River City filmed at that time was 1 week you would do the outside, and the next week you do the interiors. So they deliberately wrote it so that you couldn't be in any interiors.
Oh, it's like 50-50.
So every
of course.
second week you would be sitting in the house waiting to go back.
That's a good way to keep the budget down. That's it.
Aye, and they kept trying to kill me off as well.
Wait a minute, we did get an exclusive off of Martin. Martin, if you watch this, it better fucking no be in. Swear to God, see if it is, you're not getting back on.
Aye, we get told there might be somebody kind of special to it who might be not there anymore after a while. So we're
Right.
coming up soon as I.
You know more than me.
Well, we prodded for it.
Yeah, we probably asked for a wee bit of an exclusive, and he said that says there's a big character that's been in there for quite a while, and it's the end.
Well, they've just gone.
Oh, have they?
Oh,
No, they've just gone.
They've just gone.
At the end of that series there. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if they're dead or not.
Oh, no.
Fuck, we didn't say
I
who
know,
it was.
right? Beep, beep, beep.
Aye. No, I don't know what's happening there at all.
I know nothing. Hear no evil, see no evil.
Yeah, we prodded. We definitely prodded for a wee bit of an exclusive off him and asked him, and he didn't give us very much, to be honest. But it was enough. It was enough to know that.
The first thing in River City, you know you're going to get a wee bit of longevity is they give you a family.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
true.
The first 3 times I was in it, you were sort of lone wolf.
Yeah.
So you were easy to get rid of. In fact, he threw me in a river.
Yeah.
I was supposed to have drowned. And I thought, that's the end of that then. But then he came back about 3 months later and said, "Do you want to come back?" And because I'd buggered off to Ireland to do another thing at the time with Eddie Izzard. And I just thought, well, that's the end of it.
Oh yeah, this was the drama in the kitchen, wasn't
Kitchen, aye.
it? Yeah.
was that before he was a woman, or but like? Not to get controversial.
I think
on
he
the
was
podcast,
always, a dresser upper.
I think
Yeah, no, he's
always-
always
I
done.
think-
He's always done.
I don't
that
think he's a
thing.
he now, is he? He's
No,
Well,
he-
it's how he feels.
He goes.
Ah,
I think
yeah,
it was
Aye,
different.
he changes
I think
it.
he's pretty much like.
I remember
that,
Eddie Izzard doing his
Fair
comedy a few years ago, and he was always, I think he was male, but he dressed kind of. It's a very kind of. It was almost David Bowie-esque. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah.
even quite like.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like it was kind of eyeliner, kind of big, colourful suits, but it was always really, really clever. How was it working with Eddie Izzard? Because he was
It was
always
fine.
really.
I didn't have that much to do with Eddie, but he done this thing when we were in Dublin, and I don't know if it was a charity thing or whatever, and he was on a radio thing, and he just said, I would like to do a concert, blah blah blah. So they got him the biggest hall, and it was sold out in minutes.
Wow.
Absolutely sold out in minutes. And he invited us along to see it, and he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, it was great fun. But after we'd done that, and I came back and went, what we doing next? And I got a call from Riverside to say, would you like to come back and we'll give you a 18-month contract this time. So they brought me in and brought me a wife in, and they brought me a couple of kids in. And then it's developed from there. You know?
So how did that feel at the moment? Because you said yourself, like, you're kind of getting kept along when you're given a family. So when you're kind of thinking this might be for 12 weeks, it might be for longer, it could kind of, the type of character I could be thrown away, I could be, and then they phone saying, you've got a full family and all that. How did that kind of...
Well, you start thinking I've got a character now then. Because up until then, I was playing the character, but you weren't developing as a character. You were just there to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think as I said to you earlier, but I decided going in to play this guy that I wasn't going to play him like the archetypal, people who turn up in Scottish programmes and they harm him. But heavies are heavies.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought I'm going to make him more of a sort of get a sense of humour. He's a real person. He just happens to be quite a nasty guy. If things don't go his way. Because I think when he was first in it and his stuff with me and Stephen Purden doing, what you find is he looks like he's quite jolly and happy. I says, all these guys do until you owe them money.
Aye.
And that's what it is. So that's how the character developed along that. And bringing the family in meant that you could split that. You could have him being the bad guy, but you could also see how he relates to his own family at the same time and all the problems they have.
Personally, I think that's a massive factor. I think why the longevity has been there, because I mean, you effectively are one of the most famous Scottish villains. You're literally one of the most famous Scottish villains that is known. I mean, you're very, very high up there now. And
It's a great character.
Yes, he's a great.
Because you do get to show the different aspects. You show what he thinks about his family. How his whole attitude is he's taking care of his family constantly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he doesn't realise that gets in the way of other things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because he's only trying to be. I mean, only 2 of his children have tried to kill him. No, 3.
Only, that's all right. In my family, that's a bit normal, man. Don't worry.
I live in Govan. It's pretty standard. So stabbing in home bargains every morning.
Yeah. Usually buy somebody's motto.
But then with us talking earlier on, you were into like gangster movies. How much of that did you watch and take inspiration from to put into Lenny?
That's a good question, because I was an absolutely obsessed with The Sopranos,
Right.
which was on from like 1999 to about 2006 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you watch a lot of that, and you can't help but take things in. But then a lot of things you take in is things you remember. As I say to you, like, James Cagney films, Bogart films, where you stand. I think what happened unconsciously with me, and a director pointed out one day, and he was right, it's a sort of a very Americanised way of acting, the way I was working with Lenny. More looking into yourself, more taking pauses about what you're doing, or letting people see what you're thinking. You know what I mean? Unless you're not supposed to. But it becomes more interesting. You try to add layers all the time of like, what's actually going on in his head? And half the time you're looking, you won't have an idea until it actually happens.
I think that's interesting, that because we've touched on that a couple of times about how a lot of things that come from Scotland and Britain as a whole, but mostly Scotland, they all seem to kind of follow a same thing. There's always things about either kind of depression, drugs, blah, blah, blah. There's never really this these big characters as much. River City is a bit different these days, especially with a character Lenny, but there's never these big, interesting characters. One of the times I'd seen it is in the James McAvoy film, Filth. And I remember watching that and thinking, the character he's playing right now could be in New York, it could be anywhere. It's Scottish, and it's very Scottish, it's in Edinburgh, but it doesn't just need to be there. It's not. It could be in New York, it could be anywhere. And I was actually, the times I've seen Lenny when I've been watching it, I felt that same kind of thing. There's this kind of almost like larger than life kind of thing with a realism. Do you know what I mean? And is he
Yeah.
a bit looking in and that kind of thing? And
You try to play it as real as you can. You try to play it like, I want people to believe this. You know, because I think if you go over the top, then people it's just ham bone.
Yeah.
But you've got to stay within a certain parameter of going, this has got to seem like it's real.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the great fun in it as well. Because you look at scripts and you go, and half the time you go, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But the more you read it and the more you get into it, and then you decide.
Yeah.
And you think, I think this will be interesting.
Yeah.
And with that character, you either have to go big or not go big.
Ah,
You go
yeah.
real or go big, you know?
It's funny you say that because saying that you like Sopranos, because it's something, now you've said it, I do see a lot of Tony Soprano.
Well, it's
I
the
think the
anti-hero.
BBC intended that at first as
Yeah.
well, because when they first done publicity, I was wearing the Hawaiian shirts and all that.
They're selling you out already.
Well, if that's the way you want to go, I'll take it down that road.
But not,
you know?
not even in the sense of like just the kind of stereotype of Tony Soprano, of that introspective way where you're acting.
But it's that thing of taking it as well, and remember, you've got to keep this Glaswegian.
Ah,
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
stay
yeah.
Glasgow.
Yeah.
But we started adding as the years went on. You would add Americanisms in. You know,
I think that
it's how
works.
people go like, you know, John Gotti over here, or blah, blah, and over here. You go, it's a very American saying.
Yeah.
But you go, Lenny would be obsessed with The Sopranos.
Yeah,
All these
that's
guys
of
would
course,
just
yeah.
watch
yeah,
stuff
it's a
like
good
that,
way to
you know?
look at it. Yeah.
Because a lot of guys say that Lenny is real. You know, they say it does work because, and a couple of Polish guys that I met as well, they went, that's what I like. You know, it's just cheeky as hell to you because basically you're the enemy, mate. You know what I mean? You can't have this thing of yes officer, no officer. It's just, you've got to remember what world you're living in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how much of that, in terms of, you were saying you've had conversations with police, how much of that have you drawn from? Like, have you taken any little hints that they've given you from conversations that you've had?
No.
No?
I just tend to think, right, I'm creating this character from within me. So it's happened as well as years went on. My traits have came in that you think fit the character. I mean, Lenny's a completely different guy from me. You know, but I mean, he's I always say the most thing we have in common is we're both smart arses. You know, or try to be. He's a lot more successful than that. But I love finding wee things that you can fit in the character because you think, no, I'm just doing me. But you think, but nobody knows you. So
Yeah.
you put these wee things in it, you have wee foibles of your own. And you go, well, he would have that anyway. You know, he's the same age as me. It's just the things we know and learn would be the same things.
In a way, is it kind of asking yourself, so like, if I was this character and I was doing it, how would I react to this with those kind of, because we've all got bits in us that we kind of bury, or we think like, you know, if I was in a bad situation, how would I react this way, or would I do this? Do you know what I mean? If I was this person, if somebody had threatened my family, etc. So you can think to yourself,
But you also have fun with it as the fact of if the writers write things a certain way and they say it's like when Lenny explodes, you're going like, how do you know? So when it comes, you play it completely opposite. You think, well, let's see if it happens if he doesn't explode, but he just goes really, really quiet. And that for the actor, that's the fun of going, don't write stage directions for me telling me what I'm thinking because I'll decide what I'm thinking before I say those lines. You know what I mean? You think you're not writing a novel, you're writing a script.
yeah.
And a lot of writers are great for that. You know, they'll just say, and it does give you, I would call it a guide, the stage directions, rather than you do that. If you got a movie script, they're very, very good. Like, no, it said you move over here, there, you'll do that. Whereas I think they can be a bit looser when you're doing it, going, well, it doesn't feel like I should do that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that you're the same generation as Lenny. Like, you're probably grown up around that time of where Glasgow gangsters were a thing. You know what I mean? And you've probably
Well, actually,
got
I
a
grew
lot
up
of
in
material.
Coatbrig, which was just outside Glasgow. And organised crime was just an anathema to me then. I didn't know. But I learned later, like, my uncle worked for a couple of guys. But growing up there, it was all gangs. When I was growing up. And they'd faded out a bit when I was in my maybe 12 or 13 because it was such a massive gang fight at one time that the police had to call a halt to the whole. Nobody was allowed to be in a gang. Although there was pockets that was always running about. But where we stayed was at one point Coatbrig was a very rich town, but at the time I was born and growing up, it was on serious decline. But it always had big steelworks. And used to be if you left school, you went into one of the steelworks because there were about 5 or 6 of them around the place. But when I was young, I mean, I was a sick kid for I was young. Spent about, by the time I was 16, I'd say I'd probably spent about 8 of those years in the hospital.
Oh, really?
Or different things. I just we bad asthma.
Yeah, we'll speak about that just before I grew up with bad asthma as well. Senior.
It's just, so I was quite a sickly kid, quite a weak one.
Was
growing
myself.
Growing up in a real rough, tough, look after yourself kind of area. I mean, we were lucky, there was 5 of us in our family, and because we stayed at the front of the scheme, you knew all your neighbours. In those days, everybody knew everybody, so what was going on. But that, the way we grew up was that. It wasn't, there was no gangster thing in my life at that time at all. Never crossed my mind. There was no acting thing in that time in my life either. It never crossed my mind. But all we wanted to do was get out and earn money. And when I left school, I couldn't get a job because I was built like somebody described me at the time as a hockey stick with hair.
That's a good one, actually.
So you get up trying to get yourself a job in these factories, not a big bear. Like, what's he going to do? Pour the tea. So they would just send you off.
A hockey stick with hair.
I'm going to use that.
I will be using that. Promise you that will be used at some point.
But that's
to Mr. William McElhaney. That's his.
That's really interesting though. It's even just kind of tying into what you were saying earlier about how the way Lenny acts, he's not always bawling and shouting, he's quiet at times and stuff like that, with more of a kind of humour about him. Just when you were saying there about kind of growing up, because I grew up myself, I remember even my teens and stuff, being around some of these dodgy characters, some of these guys, and that's the thing is the ones that are loud and bawling and shouting and all this kind of thing are usually the ones that don't have as much behind them. It's the ones that they would take a joke and we're laughing and we're like, all right, mate, what's happening, blah, blah.
Quiet
and they'd be like,
unassuming.
he shoots people like he's going to do shots. Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's the quiet ones you got to watch.
aye, but he would talk to you like, all right, and you would slag him or something and he'd go, oh, mate, don't talk to us like that, that's all right, blah, blah, blah. Like, or a joke or laugh. But the one that's like trying to bring you up against somebody in the middle of a nightclub is usually the one that's less kind of thing, do you know what I mean? And there is that thing with Lenny, I think you're again tying into Sopranos, is as the years went on, he's also a bit of an anti-hero. Do you know what I mean? Because there's been the storylines and stuff where he's done all these bad things, but is now the one looking after.
Well, it's people have the attitude of going, he's a right bad bastard, but he's ours.
Aye,
I've just got that because if something turns up and you need it solved, a lot of comments I used to see from people have gone, I wish I had an uncle like him, or I wish I had, because it's somebody that's getting things done. And you know, and he's ruthless about it as well. But also you're living in that community. So you don't want to alienate people that's there. I mean, a lot of fun we had over the years was you are alienating them just by being there. You know, but, the fact is it's somebody to go to if things go wrong. And everybody wants somebody like that. That's just human nature.
It's like a lot of people. What was his name? Was his name actually Frank White or something? It was a guy from a proper gangster from back in the day, and all the, I don't know if I'm getting that name right, Frank White, but all the people from around the Bronx or whatever it was, they all still speak him so highly. And people, there's even a meme of it, and it goes, so what about the people he shot? And he's like, what people did he shoot? Like, they've got a thing about him, like, because he kept the community together, he looked after the people.
But
who
that was very
really needed
Italian
something.
thing, because you got to remember they all come over as immigrants. And they were getting basically ripped off with all these guys to start with. But organised crime changed because of prohibition, and it's of course you had a lot of younger guys and that coming in who, the old mustache pizzas they called them, they just wanted to work Italians and nobody else. Whereas the younger guys like Luciano and all that, they thought they work with anybody because it's business, it'll make money. And they eventually won the day. But a lot of them stayed in their old neighbourhoods. And people would go on a Sunday or whatever. I remember reading a story about Carlo Gambino, and people would come out, he would come down on a Sunday and sit in an office, and people would come in and ask for favours, like, you know, like seen in The Godfather at the wedding. Just come in and ask for just local people who he would know all his life. So it's like, it's a completely different thing. But the bottom line is they're gangsters, they're criminals.
Yeah.
And they always show them in that sort of romantic way. And there is a certain romanticism about it because you're living outside the law. But if you're living within it and you're being extorted by these people,
you're
it's a
not
completely
going to
different story.
see it.
We were talking briefly about method acting in the pub, and how much backstory do you have in your head of Frank that's compared to what the writing
Well,
is?
yes, Frank. So
I keep doing that as well. Lenny,
he's got a lot of backstory.
It's because Frank Gallagher's quite a good gangster name too.
We have been in the pub.
I mean, it is quite.
We've been in the pub. I'm
Like, it is
sorry,
so.
Lenny.
We are about 3 pints in each.
Well, the backstory you get is it's nigh on impossible to be a method actor on a soap. Because things change like that all the time, you know, and it become as I say to Callum, Daniel Day-Lewis, come down here and work for weeks. You get on down here, you know. You've got 3 years to prepare for every role. But it's,
Sorry, Daniel, you've got 3 years for River City.
Aye.
Just start your work, you know,
Come out
mate.
of retirement now. Glasgow need you.
Any shield inch, Daniel.
Come out of shield inch.
Lenny will show you what's up, man.
So what you tend to do is you decide, or what I try to do is decide who your character is. And the things you add are coming from you. Some from the writers, definitely. But the thing is, when you've been doing it so long and the scripts come in, you go, right, are you writing for me here or are you writing for you? You know, because I'm always under the impression that writers are there to serve the cast and the characters. They're not there to change the characters.
Yeah,
Or
I
whatever,
think
you know what I mean?
especially in a soap or something like that, it's been going on. You've got different writers coming in. You don't want a different voice. Do you know what I mean? You want them to kind
There's
of
a
come
lot of
along.
good people worked down there over the years. I mean, really some really good stuff that's went on. And that's probably why it's lasted so long. You know what I mean? It keeps people interested. Apart from the fact it's probably the only one that's full of Scottish people.
Yeah.
You turn the telly on.
But do you have any backstory for Lenny that you could share that nobody really knows because it's in your head of the character?
Well, there's a lot of stuff when you think back to his father and his mother, because it's only brought up in wee snippets when you decide to do it. But I've got a whole backstory in there. I've got a whole backstory. My first murder was my best friend.
Oh,
I felt that.
Because I could put into a script and you're like, oh. You've got to go there. Well, you've got to add that. You've got to add that to yourself.
Holy shit! Can you imagine? Right? Can you imagine getting what? You know, like occasionally you get some of these soaps that do like a 1 episode special, and it follows just one character. Remember, I think we did it with Dot and EastEnders once, and it flashed back to when she was young.
Yeah.
You imagine a one with Lenny
but that would
and getting to see that. That would
But that's
be
weird because up until then I'd been thinking, Lenny was a car thief because we'd put that in the scripts earlier when Sandy Morton was in it, the great Sandy Morton as I call him, and when we put in the scripts he started up being a car thief working for this other family, then moved on. So by the time you first meet Lenny in River City, he's a moneylender. Lenny, the lender.
A very Scottish.
The past was picked up from behind that as he worked for another family when he was younger.
Yeah.
He'd been forced into killing his best friend because if he didn't, they were going to do it in a not very nice way. And you think that it's a reason of it's actually following a life of just getting more and more into what you do till it becomes second nature. And you can't think away from it because where murder becomes second hand. It's very rare because most of the stuff that Lenny's done as well is business. It's either other gangsters or people try to F him over.
Yeah.
So it's
all right, we can spare on this podcast.
Yeah. You can't do what you want on this podcast. You want to
there's been a few swear words on this podcast. Yeah.
just in case the wife tunes in, she's like, I hate when you do that.
No, you can do what you want, say what you want this podcast. There's no-
But
there's no barriers.
that's the way I look at the character and going, everything he's done is usually, even though he murdered his own wife, she was trying to kill him. So then she was also trying to kill his wife. So there was justification in his head. I mean, anybody coming from the side of the law is going to look and go, there's no justification for that. But if you're looking from it within that world, you go, oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, because they're following you as the character, and I think this is also why when you said about giving Lenny a family and all that, I think it's why he's also quite a bit an anti-hero, as I said earlier as well. Because I was watching this episode before, and it was when I was doing some editing, and it's a brilliant bit with yourself. And I don't know the other character is another kind of gangster that's in, and he's got one of your guys kind of tied to a chair, right? And he's in the pub kind of thing, and he's like, I'm going to get him, and it's for some previous thing. And the guy's saying, I'm sorry, we killed your brother. It was as we killed your brother, and it's this kind of guy looks really.
I know.
He's kind of, but he looks like a badass. He looks like a kind of guy when you want to meet in the street, and he's like, I'm going to get him, and he's going to shoot him. You're thinking, what's going to happen to this guy? And then you just hear the gunshot go off, and he says, what is it he says before? He says something like, what happened to my brother? you shoot him, then go and ask him yourself. It's like, I was like that.
I was complaining that day, going like, you don't want to write any dialogue here. And all of a sudden appear from nowhere. Then you heard that one word, it's like bang.
All right, so was it you that said that about go ask?
That is weird because the first person Lenny murdered on the show was Sammy the Snitch.
Right.
And the guy that wrote it, a pal of mine, Jimmy McIntyre, and he'd written this scene at the end where we're standing in the boatyard. And I got a flick knife. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And I knew his brother and all that. And I say, he says such and such. And I says, yeah, well, say hello to him. He's like, whip me. Boom. But that actually came from Tinseltown that Martin wrote.
Yeah, we discussed
Well,
that.
So Jimmy was actually doing an homage to Martin. And I was thinking, do you know Martin's actually here?
Martin Diego just getting
Like, he stole my bits. Let's not imagine.
You just imagine
I thought, why
Martin
was you writing for me? I was the same character as in Tinseltown.
Imagine Martin just watching it going,
Hey,
fucking minute.
it's like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
Oh no, as soon as I read it, I went to Martin and went, do you recognise this?
Would you like to see a backstory Lenny put into the show? Would you like to see like a
it's
younger
good that
version?
it's good that the audience have followed him
For such a long
where
time.
he's got to.
Yeah.
But also, we've done a few flashbacks, but always within the parameters of the show. Right? Like when you're young in the show, there's nothing that's taken us back. To me, that's a completely different show.
Yeah.
You know, and you could write that about cats.
Spin-offs, man.
I'm not even joking. I genuinely would love to see that. Though.
So would that.
I think it'd be so nice
I think
to
it'd be
have
good to
a lot of
see
shows
how
are doing it
came
these
yeah,
about.
days.
just to see like just the really, really pivotal moments.
Yeah,
that
that made
in
it
his
to.
life.
It could even be
They
like
could've
what you
brought
get
him
in BBC's at like these short things. It's only a few episodes, an hour each. Do you know what I mean?
Like I
But
said,
they
we
give,
did it,
like,
I'm sure it was EastEnders and I'm sure it was Dot. We did a couple of flashback
Oh, no, I've done
episodes.
one. I've done one of those Never City where you flash back and there's photos of his mother and he's talking about his mother and things like that. And it's just kept in a distance. I thought, but the good thing is if you start building a story like that, if it ever came to them wanting to do something that somebody who was younger before, because it's great to follow your whole life story. You go, how did you end up like this?
Yeah.
How did you end up? You
it's
know?
interesting for
'Cause,
the
I mean,
audience. It's really.
We're invested in him now. You know what I mean? It was like, you've been on the show for that long.
Yeah.
I think it definitely is like everyone's invested.
Well,
like,
that's when Martin put the thing in about killing his best friend, and I thought, that's good because it shows that he didn't just start here the first day he turned up here. He had a life that brought him to here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now he's getting older as well, which is quite strange because you understand that you're getting older, and he's not trying to cling on to being this tough guy. He's pulling back a wee bit, and especially in the last stuff that we've done. But the audience need to know, and what they want to know is that it's there.
Yeah.
It's hanging about there. You know what I mean?
There's another Glasgow filmmaker called Colin Ross Smith. I was in one of his productions, and he actually did an amazing story. It started off as a short story, and it was gangster guy. He was the same guy. He had a really rough life, and then it got to a point where he was going, I'm pulling away, I'm retiring, I'm pulling back from it. And then one of his his sons, who he brought into the fold of his life, gets a doon. That was my character actually, and then it brings him back into the whole world of gangster. But again, it was his that older character was getting older. He couldn't do it anymore, and that whole episode. And he went on to do. It was actually on. I think it was on STV for a while. It was about a 4-episode thing on STV. It was like so fucking interesting to see somebody. You knew the story of this gangster, but he was 68, 69 when he was doing it. But he's still that gangster. But he's trying to portray the gangster when he knows I can't do this anymore.
If it's still within you, all you can do is put front up.
Yeah, it's pure passion.
And the thing is, you've got to remember, these are all fiction.
Yeah.
Real life crime's a lot tougher.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot less.
And that's what I'm saying. You romanticize guys like that in the telly, but it's good, I think, because people just go, it's weird that I'm rooting for the bad guy.
Yeah. Oh, the rise of the villain. The rise of the villain was a thing for a while now.
But that's why
I was actually going to say that. Like, you think of the Joker now and the amount of villains that people look up to. Like, nobody's want to be Batman anymore. They want to be the Joker.
But I think it has to be done in a right way, and I think we see when you've got that arc. Right, when you've got the arc through time, when you try to sell somebody a villain just being a good guy now, can be weak. Like, remember we spoke about Heroes before, right? They made Heroes, and it was like, I don't know if you've all seen this. There was a kind of semi-superhero show back in 2009. It was kind of like X-Men, basically, right? But there's this bad guy in it. It's the most bad guy you could ever get. He's cutting people's heads off, doing all this thing. And then one season they decided, oh no, he's a good guy. And it wasn't his fault that he'd done all these things because he had this sickness. And you, as an audience member, you just go, nah, not buying it, right? But having the slow progression of an arc, showing them the family, showing them the kind of thing, showing them the insight, why he became this way, why he acts this way, what he's trying to protect, all these kind of things, makes you get with that character and think, well, if I was in that situation, I'd do the same. Do you know what I mean? I was watching, because I've been binging The Walking Dead recently, I was watching it. They've got another character, Negan, who's this bad guy who does the most horrific things to the main cast.
It's also the name of my cat.
Your cat, nice. I like that.
I had to bring that in. I called him Negan when I got him as a kitten, right? And I never liked cats, right? I was a big cat fan. My ex was like fucking cats, and then I missed having a cat. It was bizarre. And the first thing he did was kept smacking my head. And I was like, Negan for The Walking Dead was famous for batting people. And I was
Have
like,
you seen it? No, you don't know what
oh
I'm
no, so he's famous for like batting people in the head. And I was like,
Yeah.
Negan. Sorry
Negan,
to
'cause
interrupt, I'm
no,
sorry.
no, it's
I
good,
got
like-
a bit excited there.
But it's just in this thing, because I hadn't touched The Walking Dead for ages, and I was like, I'm going to go through it, and I was watching this, and it's this, now they do the same thing, try to do him, make him into a better character, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes successfully, sometimes not. You can tell the different writers, but it's like, but there is a beauty in this thing. I used to love it years and years ago when it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when they made Spike the Vampire into a good guy and the other guy who used to be a good guy into a bad guy. And it's like that slow character arc, instead of just doing it right away, but that slow burn, do you know what I mean? I think the audience can really get with that because we've all got bad impulses inside us. We've all got that wee anti-hero or that bad guy inside us. We just don't do it. Do you know what I mean? But seeing somebody who relinquishes that and does it, we can all, in a weird way, look up to. Do you know what I mean? That we're
Well,
like,
it's
we
just
get
the
it.
reason you go, what's the reason you done it? You know, where you weren't born like that. Some people are apparently, but see, I was throwing alternative things for Lenny. I've gone like that when we were discussing one day. You know, he's a sociopath, and I said, but he loves his family and all that. And I said, well, but does he? Or is that part of the act?
Yeah.
Is he an out and out sociopath?
Yeah.
Or it's just there.
Well, that's a good question that would be lovely to ask you. Well, what do you, like, because this is, for me personally, when I was watching things like Len, I wouldn't think that a sociopath would go to those lengths to look after their family. Maybe they would, I don't know. But what do you think? Is he a sociopath or is he?
Somebody that doesn't have any empathy,
Nothing.
but they can fake it. You can fake it. No, I just do that as a bit of fun for myself. I don't think he's a sociopath.
But I think that's interesting. I think that's one of the most interesting things is this person doing bad things, being able to kill people easily now because it becomes second nature, but they really do have a heart. They really do want to look after their nearest and dearest and what's true to them, what's special. Or are, as you said, are they just, putting on a front and just, but I don't think somebody like that, and I know I'm a bit like, as I said, the scene of running into that lion's den to shoot the guy and say, go and ask him, would do it
Just
if he
from an outside perspective, I think Lenny's done it out of necessity.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I
No, that's what I'm saying. I just do these things for myself for fun. The way I look at Lenny is you become a criminal. The weird thing is you study the criminal mind, right? And you go, they don't think the same as or they think is a normal thought. We go, that's a criminal thought. And I like that aspect of going. You can be just, you grow up in an area where everybody's a thief, you come into it in a family, you go like that. You find your protectors on the street, which is a lot of trouble now. All these young guys with the county line drugs, because the only people that are looking after them is the guys that selling drugs.
Yeah.
And so they become that kind of thing. Me personally, I think Lenny just grew up in a neighbourhood where he was, got into it early and just followed it through. Now, killing somebody's never easy, I would imagine. I couldn't do it. But I think it's a thing, if you can justify it to yourself, it's all the Mafia guys justify it to themselves. It's just business.
I like that you put, I would imagine, on the end of the other to sure. I'm not killed.
I would imagine they've no found end yet.
She's in the allegedly. It's trying to get inside that mind, which I don't a lot because I think it's a soap character. It's not a big character study. If you were doing a series about somebody who's like that, this is somebody to entertain the audience and bring the stories along.
Yeah.
But then, when else do you get a chance to spend 18 years with a character? That must be the actor's dream because sometimes you get a film and it's like you're an hour and a half, you're done, you move on to the next project. But with a TV series,
well, it's like doing theatre as well. It's very intense for the period you're there, and then it's over the day you finish.
Yeah.
My own personal thing is I loved rehearsing. I didn't even perform in me. I would go like, give me 18 weeks rehearsal and then an opening night and a shut night, and I'll be happy and get it go. But with TV, it's just like, and you're working with all different people all the time as well. So it's things develop and things move on.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed everybody that I've worked with in River City. It's just it's a great place to work once you get into it. I've not heard anybody say a bad thing about it. All actors and that have come in and out because everybody's treated the same. There's no star system. There's no like you do this, you do that. You go. Everybody's just in there. It's like a survival instinct a lot of the time as well.
I think it's thinking. I think I said the same thing to Martin. It's like obviously we all three of us have been involved in the acting industry. But Ryan's been involved in the agency industry for long enough as well. But every single person that I've ever known that's worked on River City says it's fucking magic.
Oh no, completely. We
said it's. I honestly said they've all come out of it and said what a time they've had. And I was in one episode.
Yeah. I remember it.
It was like one episode I came in, I was a wee drunk asshole at the bar, and then someone kicks me out. I can't even remember.
what you're saying is there's three young bucks here that can do my job.
It got a name for itself. It was called River City. When it first came out, the first 3 years were a bit dodgy. Then it sort of took off for a while. And then it's like, you know, people, when it's off, people are complaining, it's off, it's on. And then as soon as it comes on, they want to complain about it being on. You know, when you're doing an hour version, they want, why are we not doing 2.5 hours? You do 2.5 hours, why are we not doing an hour? You go, but
you'll never please everyone.
That's just part of the game. You go, there's a lot more people outside. As I always say to people, don't bother with the comments. The people are entitled to make them, but that's not the general feeling that people have.
You wouldn't be having all the viewers.
I was going to ask, do you actually watch the episodes back so that you can see how...
I hate watching myself.
So do I.
I didn't used to, but since I got to 60, I'm like, I can't.
No, but I've always been like that. I sometimes had to watch things, you know, as a young actor, and I hate watching myself so bad. Even on like something you've been on, like I'd been on River City before as well, as that like a kind of walk-on part of it. But I remember, but the thing is I remember being in the back. It was similar. It was a party I was at or something. But everybody, even when I've done the kind of casting, everybody always speaks highly of River City. And without naming any of their names, there's other big TV shows that film in Scotland, without naming any names, that sometimes...
Does it rhyme with Shawshander?
It might. But now and again, people come out from and they go, that wasn't a nice experience. There was because you said it there was a very clear difference between who's the cast, who's here, blah, blah. People kind of, you're not this, so you go over there and shut up, kind of thing. People don't get that in River City. They don't get the like, even when you're an extra.
Just goes into work. And a lot of the SAs have been doing it as long as I have. You know, so it's like you feel that you know them when they turn up. You see them in the pub scenes all the time. It's like it makes it feel like it's a community you're in sometimes, because you go, so it's the same faces as in the pub. It's not all different people all the time. So you go like, well, where do all the people go? So any local boozer you get, you're going to see the same people in.
Yeah.
So it works on that level as well. But the thing of people enjoying it as actors is, I mean, the amount of stuff I've worked on, you go in, it's like they just lock you away in a cubicle or a wee caravan and make it nice for you. And then you can be sitting there all day. The thing I liked about River City, it was mental, because if you work on something that's got big high production values, it can take a day to do a 3-page scene or a half a page scene.
Yeah.
Which is, it looks great on the screen, but you're sitting about for days. I love the fact of going, go on there and do it, go on there and do it, go on there and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because it keeps your day busy. It keeps your mind active. You do get some terrible days where you come in and you're doing the very first scene, and then you're not on again to the very last scene.
Yeah.
So you've got like a 11.5 hour wait between going. But you can find things to do. I used to go up the road. Just
PlayStation, get a PlayStation.
Well, we had that. It's weird. The BBC and the green room we had was the only place you couldn't put a telly on. You couldn't get a signal on the telly. You get it all over the rest of the building apart from the actors' green room.
What I was going to say is, with you being a big fan of Mafia, like, this must be a dream role for you, because you're getting to play a crime boss. And
I think it was great once I got into it, because I thought I can bring the things that I've read over the years, just wee tiny things, and go, these are interesting. Just the way you would react to certain stuff. And it's not ripping people off. You go, I understand that. And I want the character to look like he understands that. Because I'm not a criminal. You know what I mean?
Allegedly.
I'm not allowed in jury duty, but
I don't like his face. I don't like his face.
Is that true, but you're not allowed in jury duty because of the part, or because
no, it's because I had a trial when I was 18.
right, sorry. I just thought maybe because there'd be like...
It's all those people he killed when he was younger.
But we spoke last time with Martin about how some people are a bit daft and don't get that you are Frank Gallagher and not... And I was just thinking that you couldn't be on jury duty because people are like, oh, what?
Well, I think that's the case now. I think there's a couple of people due up for jury duty now, and I think they can get off with it because if you're a well-known face, they don't want to see people like that sitting on the jury.
Yeah.
Because especially if I went on it and was sitting in the dock, you're going to go, he's innocent. No matter what you say.
No, but think about it. We told a story for Martin about the woman asking you to give her husband a phone call, and stuff like that. And it's like, if those people were in the jury, they'd be like, Lenny Murdoch, sorry. I know it's mental, but apparently some people have that kind of thought.
I appreciate it a lot. If people get that much into something, because if you're wondering, but I mean, having a discussion with my mate Peter Mullen at one point years ago. And people were always like,
name drop. Peter Mullen.
Excuse me, why? So I just If you don't know who Peter Mullen is, I have other names I can drop.
Just a literal drop in the ocean there. Just
He's my fucking friend and he's called Peter Mullen.
So we were talking in the pub earlier on, talking about Peter Mullen, how fucking awesome he is. You were just like,
He's like,
I'll keep my text.
Is that bit of a dick?
we were talking one day and it was just like, people go, I don't want to be famous. I went, I'm on about it. All these actors that kid on, they don't want to be famous, they're doing it for a living.
Yeah, thank you, by the way, because that's something that always does my nutting. You get these people that, it's so annoying walking down the street. And it's like, is that not what you work for?
That's your job.
No, but it's what you work for. Like, you hear people like, I slept in my car, I done this, blah, blah. And then they become famous, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe all these people. It's like, shut the fuck up and go and do, like, it's your job, man. It's part of what you strove for. Stop acting like it's some hard thing
There's a
now.
lot of people that the very thought of being recognised drive them mental.
Well,
but I just took it as an attitude of going, what did you get into it for?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why would you? It's not as if since
if you
like
a wee bit, like I've got, it's nice. I mean, Peter's got this whole thing.
Yeah, he's quite an open.
But since the 50s or anything, being a Hollywood, like being a celebrity, being a well-recognised face has came with the fame, right? So getting into the game in the first place, being like, I would like to be a successful actor. Then you strive to that, you get to that point and you go, but I don't like all the success with it.
See,
It's
I'm going to
like,
have to contradict myself there because I get into acting because I don't want to go to jail.
okay.
It's a good
And
reason.
then you end up playing a gangster. But it's people get in for all different reasons, and a lot of people fall away. It's like you go to drama school and there's 20s in a class. And if you get back about 10 years later, maybe there's 60s still doing it. But it's the thing, everybody wants to do it. And after Fame, the film came out, it just went mental. Everybody wanted to go to drama school. And I was quite lucky. I went 84, I think it was. But that was quite lucky as well, because the only reason I went into the audition was that I'd get pally with this school teacher lady. I worked with her son, and she says, I'll pay for your audition, which was a tenner. And she gave me a cheque, and I thought, now, if she'd have given me that in cash, that audition would never happen.
You've been off with it.
So I've got a lot to thank Daphne Kirkpatrick for.
that's
because
nice.
it just worked out, because when we were in a group, me and Martin, Neil McKinn, Paul Higgins, the thick of it.
The dream team that we were talking about before, the guys that stayed there.
It's everybody was going off to drama school. I had no interest in going to drama school. And they were all going to London. But after a year, I was like going, I'm left in this flat myself. And I had a go at the Glasgow one, and I got in that time. I'd already auditioned for it about 4 years earlier, where the guy I had as a probation officer at the time, he was threatening to get me pulled into the jail because I wouldn't behave myself. I had a trial when I was about 18, 19, and the presupposition was you're 2 years, but if you do anything within those 2 years, 2 years. But they gave me, it was weird, I ended up with the same guy that I'd had as a social worker at school. Because my mate used to go lie. He said, you lie people all the time. He said, he's a social worker for 3rd year at school. He said, it was fucking 2nd year. It's just like,
Sorry,
that all linked in with the fact that I was a sick kid. Because you're missing so much schooling that when you went in, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. And eventually you just start dogging it all the time. You know what I mean? So I ended up with this big fella, like an absolutely amazing guy, built like Grizzly Adams. But he took me up, he stayed in Cumbernauld. And he said, there's a youth theatre up there if you want to ever go to that. So he took me up there, and the sort of social services were paying for me to get taxis there and back and whatever. And I went in the first night and just thought, it's all about. Maybe I was kidding myself on. Maybe I was just lying. So this went on for a couple of weeks, and I went, nah, it's not for me. So I went out one night and got Stephen and my mate and went up his house to a card school they were having. And Big Ramsey turned up at the door, his frame. He's like, come on, we're going up. And I was like, nah, I can't be bothered. It's no good to me. He's like, get one more night, see how it happens. And luckily, I was half cut. So when we went up that night, instead of being sitting in the corner and listening to everybody talking about improvisation, you're sitting going, say what?
Aye.
You're like, I was the entertainer that night. I did get them both. And that was it. I started doing it. So the big trick after that was to go without a drink.
Aye.
You know what I mean? It's like doing this, you sit and have a few beers, and you find the trick of, well, we don't really, this is a crutch.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to
we're
go-
never doing this sober, don't worry. Not a fucking chance.
I've actually found I had to, because I was taking a bottle of Buckfast on the bus. You know, before we were rehearsing things. And eventually have to go, like, you want to do this or don't you? You know. And within a year I was staying up there. And I'd moved out to Coatbrig and I stayed there. I went to drama school. And I stayed there for about a year before I moved out again. We had a great time in Cumbernauld. I mean, it's like, once you get into acting, you find out, Jesus Christ, there's a hell of a lot of women around this.
Mate, right, mate. Honestly, like that. Honestly, what you're saying,
power in college.
me too. Listen, what you're saying there sounds so like I can relate with it so much because I kind of told you a wee bit before when we were in, like, I done acting for a young age, left it at a young age too because I was actually doing quite well, but I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm 12, 13 now. I want to go to weights and gym, and there's hard men out here, and I'm Paisley and that kind of nonsense. So for a while, I was into like MMA, but that's no nonsense. But in the streets, I thought it was a hard man, all this kind of nonsense, right? Absolute bread. And then when I was a bit, my friend used to kind of more or less bully me to go back into it. He was like, go to acting, go back to acting. He used to be a great actor. Every time we were out at a night out, you know, up to 4 a.m, he's like, but every time. So I'm like, all right, I'll go back. I'll get an idea. This one audition, and I go in, and I'm like, I'm not sure if this is for me. All these people look a bit weird. They're all doing dodgy things. They're all like, this isn't my thing. And I told you,
they're all wearing tights.
Men in tights it was. And I told you that one. My mate, shout out Graham, stood up to the thing, he put the thing in the middle, said, "Fuck's sake, Pikachu," kicked it out, and I was like, "That's hilarious." And after that, I was like, I'm in kind of thing. But it was the same thing. You don't really feel that you fit back in. Do you know what I mean? Because all these people knew everything about plays, everything. And I'm like, I'm getting back in. I'm just a boy for Paisley. What do I know? Do you know what I mean? But then you realise you're doing well at it, and you're like, oh shit, I can do this. And women are good too.
It's a completely alien world. And it's the thing of trying to, especially when you're young. And because we had such a group of people around us, and it was all young lassies and young guys, it's the thing you go, like, I've never been in a group like this before. You know, and people are talking about things. So you start doing it, you think, I'll play along with this. And then eventually find you brought yourself into it. And then a year later after that, when I moved up, that's when I first met Martin. They were doing some, I think they'd done one the year before at Jonestown, but this year, 1983, they decided to do one about the Nazi youth. Okay. So we all disembarked down to Westerwood, where we had a sort of farm place down there with director John Baraldi. It was brilliant. And he started this company called On Your Bike, which was what Norman Tebbit said every unemployed person should be doing if they wanted a job. So we decided to call the theatre company that. So the theatre company was made up of all unemployed people I hadn't met before, you know, and for all over. So I met Martin at that, and we were wandering about, and we were out every morning marching and doing all these sort of weird things. And then we found the guys for Good Morning TV hiding in the bushes. So all of a sudden, all the press was turning up. What you do? What are you actually doing down here?
Good stepping.
It was like running a Hitler youth camp.
They were like, wait, did they fucking make it?
Once we done it in theatre, we went, oh, I see what you're talking about.
But then how much?
Fucking actors.
But how much of that is a Scottish thing where you're kind of questioning yourself? You're like, should I be here? You know?
I think it's
Well,
far
I think
too
if you
much.
come to working class Scotland, you're constantly questioning as soon as you step outside it. Because one, the people you belong to will not let you for a start. And to be accepted by them was the most important thing to me. My pals and that were great because they started coming up Cumbernauld Theatre to see if you call Brig because there was a lot of women around when there were shows on. My brother was like, I'm coming up to watch this, and then they would all turn up. So they were very supportive of it. Going back home after I'd been at drama school was a bit different because it's like, you know, here he comes, the correct actor. Carry on. But 100%. All the people I knew were very, very supportive.
I remember like one of the first auditions that I had in London, and I was really like first got into it, and I went all the way down south. And actually, now I'll give an example. The one I had in Glasgow was one of my very first auditions. I was in Glasgow, and everyone's just sitting there going, "You all right, mate? Cool. You excited? Cool. Can't wait to do this audition." And then the fucking next one was in London. And then I walked down and everyone's like, fa la 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 la, oh, mud, and all that shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
No, I know that feeling exactly.
Didn't you love it?
No. It's just like Glasgow's, everyone's like, this is fucking No, I know.
I think that's why I didn't go to London. Because I was thinking, I'll get in there, but I can't.
I did that recently, man. I was in an audition for, I actually ended up being that, you know that really controversial Gillette advert that was like
the woke one.
Yeah, I went for the audition for that, right? And
Did you open your mouth at all? That's why you didn't get it.
No, so I went for the audition, and they're sitting down, and they've got you doing like this kind of thing. And but I remember I was like a sweaty mess getting there. I ran through London. You ever seen that episode of Homer Simpson in The Simpsons where he hates New York? That's me with London. Like anytime I've went there for an audition, and everything goes wrong. I hate it. Everything goes wrong. So I turn up, it's very messy, like, what's going on? And the same thing, everybody's, all these kind of loud things going about, and I'm like, I'm just trying to look at my lines, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, and but that had even been involved in the acting thing for a while when I had been just getting back into it, and all these people are doing, like, my acting class, my school only done musical theatre, acting and dance, right? So when I walked in, people are flipping about and doing fairy things, and then I was like rolling about with cunts a few weeks ago, like
doing MMA and fighting boxing.
New cunts are like doing this, and it's like, it is quite a shock, but it also is, as you said, I'd never met people listen. Some of these people are still my best pals today, and it wakens you up to a whole new thing. Do you know what I mean? We actually just had a reunion the other night, and it was nice to see everybody. But as you even said, a lot of them aren't doing it anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like you feel like.
See, I moved away from Coatbrig in I think about 82. And I went to drama school, and I went back out to state my was about 86, and I was home 2 weeks and I get jail. You go, that's how quick I used to slip back into that guy. When I'm talking about getting jail and that, you're not getting sent away, you just get lifted.
Yeah.
Stupid things.
I woke up myself a few times myself, it's no good.
I'm not been there. I've just never been caught.
I have a couple of times. It sucks. It's no fun.
When I grew up in Kirkwood, if you hadn't been lifted by the time you were 15,
you were a bitch.
You were no use. Absolute no use. You'll amount to nothing.
I think the coppers always knew I was going to be gassed if in 2 minutes they're chasing me. That they always called me.
I was a bit cardio. I was a bit trimmer, and I could spend.
I woke up at a police cell in my tap half, and I didn't know what had happened. They're like, you know why you're
here. Drop away.
That was just last Wednesday.
That's why I don't talk about it a lot. But they're like, you know why you're here. It's like, I really don't. I really don't. But I was.
No, most of it's getting out and like, you're done for Beachy the Beach. You're like, yes.
I used to do the backs. Do you know doing the backs?
What do you mean the back?
People's back garden.
Big back gardens.
That was what I kept my cardio up when I was younger. I was a bit of a fucking arsehole when I was younger.
I was
I turned into an acting fucking goth wearing this t-shirt.
I know.
Actually, as it says, you would think this is because it's a movie, like kind of thing, that I wore this because I like movies. It wasn't. It was just to remind a topic that we were bringing up, and we're going to do a Halloween thing coming up.
Oh yeah, they will do.
Halloween's not far away.
I know.
It's not, mate. And we're getting our episodes out. We better do Halloween now, because like,
it was a message. It was literally a message on the podcast to say that we are going to be doing a Halloween. Basically, every single day in October, we're going to do a review of a film. So it's either going to be one of us or someone talking about it, and you're more than welcome, Frank.
I'm not a horror fan.
But number one, that we'll need to get a schedule sorted for that. But number two, the thing about I was going to ask you, saying about talking about playing Lenny as this gangster and that. One of the things about, it's not exactly horror, but a wee bit outside we were talking to Martin about, was the 20th anniversary version of River City, where it was like the
metaverse.
I watched that episode and I absolutely loved that episode. I was honest with you, I don't watch every episode of River City. I'm not. Lenny, sorry man. But,
a little bit pooky about there.
No. But the thing is like I've watched it off and on when I was younger. I've never been a big soap watcher altogether, right? But when I watched this,
for what, folks?
But when I watched this episode, it was genuinely really enjoyable. I also thought the added wee bit of kind of like tongue-in-cheek with it, right, but between the two main characters was hilarious, and there was a lot going on. But one of the things I found really interesting was your character in it, because you're always playing the big man, the guy who everybody comes to, who's got this brass buzz that nobody, the big guy. And now in this episode, you're like a lowly just dude who's doing motors. And I know you're not on it for hundreds an episode, but the wee bit you are, I'm not just saying this because you're here, I loved how different you were in it, because you're like that, no, I'm going to say my piece, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And it reminded, it was like,
he's basically
a normal dude at the pub. A normal dude at the pub. And it was like, I'm going to say my piece. And it was just, it was so different, and it was so, and I just wondered, like, on the day of like filming and all that, or even getting scripted, how did you approach that? I'd be like, I'm going to.
It was Martin said to me, I think they're doing such and such, and then he went, and then I met the guy who was directing it, Ryan, lovely guy,
good name,
and he said, he'd say to Martin, Frank won't do this, he won't do it. It's making them look stupid. And then I went, what is it? And he went, well, you're total opposite. I went, that's exactly what I want to do. Is just show what the opposite would be. You're playing Bob like everybody thinks he's a gangster guy. If Lenny's to be an idiot, let it be a good idiot. You know what I mean? just not play it for laughs, but play it for humour and the fact of going, how the hell did that guy become this guy? You know, and the audience all loved all that because it was and I think it was very entertaining for people because it was something different.
It was entertaining for me, and I'm not even a massive fan. Like, it was.
It's interesting for you as an actor in general because you've been playing that kind of hard man. You know, you're going the opposite.
But can I say the subtlety in it is what I liked? Is you weren't just like a shite bag. You weren't just. It was like this guy. Could you do stuff? It showed like everything we've been talking about Lenny. About how he is the way he is and where he is and his upbringing and the things he brought in and how he's even an anti-hero and stuff. This moment of with none of the gangster stuff behind him, with none of the thing, he's a guy at a pub standing up to a behemoth, right? Yeah. And he's like, no. And he is a frail, like, but he's like, I'm going to do this. No. I'm going to see my piece. He still had that thing in him. He's like, I'm going to stand my ground. Even though he was shite himself, but he was like, he still had that thing, and I loved that kind of subtleness in it. That this is a very different version.
We decided to do it is go like, this is Lenny if his life had been different. This is if he'd just grown up normally and worked in a garage. And what he'd be like he's still defending his family.
Exactly.
It's in his DNA, isn't it?
It was just great fun.
No, but I love that, and you must feel that as well, playing a character for 18 years and get to play about with it, the mould. It must not like a plasticine kind. It must be quite interesting. Like, how would my character be?
Johnny McKnight's right and stuff like that. She was great, and as I say, I took on the whole thing that was going on because it brought so many people back from the past, like gangsters and things like that, just to do stupid things. So we all had a great time on it.
It did. It was a very, very fun episode. I've seen multiple episodes of Riverside. I'm never a big soap fan myself, but this one, I was watching it because I was editing and I was watching this and I was like, this is brilliant. I was actually genuinely enjoying it. It had so many good, really kind of like tongue-in-cheek, but
there's
really
a lot of fun out there, folks. Start watching it.
But like I said,
it is. It's awesome.
But like I said, in reference to that short film that guy I know did. Actually, do you know what I said? Colin Ross Smith. He's actually the editor on Riverside.
Right.
Okay.
Aye. So he does it, and it's him.
I think he's moved on now. I think he's Outlander or something, is he?
I don't know. No, I've not logged into Facebook for a while, so I probably.
Maybe it's a
better watch me say now.
He did. He was doing the editing on
it.
Right, he was doing it for quite some time. But he says like that story about the gangster was getting a wee bit older. I think that's a lot of people obviously like you've been it's like what is it, 20 years? You said 18. I think. After this is like to see where you're going to go with this character.
Well, the weird thing was they were making me older before time.
Yeah.
They had people calling me old man and all that, and I was like 52.
Come
on, I think
I've been called old man a couple of times. I'm 35 man.
So. No, the ultimate insults when you're standing in a pub and you go like, no, that's him over there. Who? The old guy.
Okay.
But there's something about
that.
Kid
when you're looking around like
that. There's something about that though, like. Lenny's now getting to that point where there's probably going to be another dog trying to get into his.
Well, there always is. This is the thing that's followed him. So and to remain top dog, one, you've got to be brighter than everybody else. It's not just the violence; it's the brilliance. Because anybody can kill. You know, if they're in the criminal world, anyone wants to hype themselves up. I imagine just I'll shoot him. You know what I mean? But the thing is, to become the boss of something, you've got to have worked that way up. And you don't just forget that because you're getting older. But the physicalities definitely start coming in.
That's what I love. And that's what it says is like that film that Colin did was talking about a lot about the mentality of kind of getting older and the physicality of getting older and still having to maintain a mob presence.
Because it's that thing as well, because I'm the same age as Lenny. I think they've got him slightly older than me. But you know, you might talk about things how it takes you 3 moves to get out of bed. You know, you've got to wake up, sit up, stand up, and then walk on your heels to the toilet. Well, looking in the mirror, going like, "You're the toughest guy."
I hope I'm still doing that, man. I will be. I promise myself I will be.
That's what the wife said to me one morning. I'm screaming. She's like, "What?" She's an old guy's broke into the house. I'm looking. Go in the mirror. You're like, "Oh, what happened?"
What I want to know, Frank, is we've invited you on Geekified. Is there anything that you're geeky about?
Gangsters.
Yeah.
I've pretty much read up most of the things of like the American Mafia from it becoming organised, and then I get more interested in the stuff of how it got organised and where it was before that. You know,
Yeah.
so you try to trace it back, and I've just done that for years. That's the books I read, the things I do, and I like that, and I like watching gangster things to tell. But it's not that I love gangsters. I love the mentality.
Aye.
Of you go, this is a mentality that I could never have.
Yeah.
You know?
It's almost in a way we do Geekified. We talk about superheroes and all that, and I'm not. But that's why I bring up the anti-hero and that, because the thing about the right type of written gangster thing, and I'll be honest with you, I grew up as a geek for gangster stuff too, right? See, like Scarface, Goodfellas, all that were my thing that I'd go home and watch every night. That was my thing, right? As I get a bit older, and as, to be honest, that I found out some of the real people in the world that are like that kind of thing, I kind of grew away from it, and I was like, yeah, it kind of bores me. Now, so people would be like, you need to watch this gangster film or something, but yeah, I've seen it all. But there's still, when it's done right, and you were talking about Boardwalk Empire and stuff like that, right?
Great show.
That there is a way when it's done right that they're almost like a superhero, anti-hero. It's like, it's this person with so much power, more than the average man, that with that power, do you go evil? Do you go bad? Or what do you do to keep... It's almost like being like this superhuman in a way, because you have this much influence and power
But a
over
lot
people.
of it's force of circumstance as well. You know, a lot of stuff I get into Mafia for was reading books about it, not watching films.
Aye.
Because you realise a film's fiction or fantasy.
Aye.
And so the ones during Boardwalk Empire, they had real people in it. Through it, and then he cut very quickly to 5 years later in the last series, because I think they all wanted to make a
Quick exit.
I don't want to go off and do other stuff. And
I know exactly. You can sense that.
Record music in the 70s and stuff like that. You know what I mean? All these guys that worked on that. So it got very speeded up. But I thought they were quite true to the characters, because the characters I'd read in book I could recognise. And then a lot of great documentaries, you know, that PBS used to show about prohibition and all that. You get the facts rather than the untouchables on the telly.
The prohibition is an interesting time with all, because it's something that we take so we're all drinking here tonight, and it's like, but it's that kind
have water.
And of course, Lenny, sorry. But, like, what I mean is we take it so much for granted that we're having a drink, stuff like that, but what is legal today, it's no legal tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? People that were selling weed 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or now in Scotland, were gangsters, but now in Colorado it's legal. It's like, it does make you kind of question the whole thing about...
The whole prohibition thing was an absolute... It was bound to fail. People have been drinking since they came out the caves.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then all... this group of women and things get together and go, no, this should stop me. I mean, there was a hell of a lot of drunkenness, as we said. In Scotland was no different than anywhere else. But to think that you can just go to people, no, lawfully we're telling you can't drink, especially in a place the size of America. You're mad.
And I've got to remember, Americans are all Scottish and Irish that have moved over, so telling a bunch of Scottish and Irish people you can't drink is not going to go down well.
I'll tell you a fucking funny story. I was actually at a wedding just a weekend there. I went all the way over to a place
a
place called fucking Grey Abbey. Now remember that. We booked an Airbnb for this.
Blue?
No, it was Green Abbey. Raging. It's not what it was in the postcard. Got all the way there, and I was like, I know the B&B, it was an Airbnb, walked in, she was like, oh, yeah, oh, by the way, forgot to tell you, you can't buy any alcohol in the village.
Fucking hell.
I'm like, you fucking,
dry village.
You fucking for real? And she's like, where's the next village? 30 minutes away. So, I mean, there's a fucking arse end of the island.
I'd do it, though. But
oh, mate, I swear to God, I've
30
never...
minutes, I'd walk that.
I'm gone. I'm finding it, man. Fuck you. I'm gone.
Right, thank you.
No shagging it. I was writing it.
Just 30 minutes.
So, I'll be steaming by the time I get back. Don't worry.
Mate, I swear to God, I've never been more shocked in my life. Like, fucking, I was like, so it was one shop, and we didn't have a license. And then there was one fucking restaurant bar thing that shut at 9.
Fucking hell.
So me and my fucking girlfriend are sitting like that. I need to talk to you tonight.
Shall we have sex? No, you're right.
Each other go like that. What money has booked this?
The woman who owned the Airbnb did say, she went, oh, I probably should have told you. And I'm in the fucking other room going, I fucking know. And she's like, quiet. And I'm like,
who gets on a plane to Ireland without taking 2 litres with them?
I just thought there'd be a wee shop somewhere. I genuinely did. I was absolutely fuming.
No, but we're a Scottish, Irish / background. You need your drink now and again. And telling people, this is what I think the prohibition thing, like, because, you know, all the, especially 1920s, 30s, we're all quite closely from Scottish, Irish kind of thing, is... You can't tell a bunch of people they're not going to drink without expecting her as a crime.
You see, the thing about you look at America as well. All the Scottish people sort of avoided New York and all that because all the people that arrived were religious nuts, most of them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people went to Canada, and the ones that got off in New York, they went south and started Ku Klux Klan. I mean, that's a fact. You look at the Southern flag, it's a salt.
It's where hillbilly comes from.
The thing is that the Appalachians were all the hillbillies, and they were all the Irish Scots and things like that went there. And you go, Prohibition meant nothing to them because they made their own drink all the time.
Yeah. Do you know? Apparently, that's where the name hillbilly comes from. But
What, really?
I heard this before. Maybe somebody in the comments can to say I'm wrong or whatever. But hillbilly, no, Protestant Billy, Billy, it's hillbilly.
Irish Scots.
But the kind of more Protestant side of it.
Irish,
but see, like, so Billy, you know that Billy
King
of Holland,
Billy.
King Billy, hillbilly. It's people from. It's people who go back to the hills in America that are from Billy.
Somebody will fact check us
Yeah,
regardless.
no, they're probably, but that's the way I heard
There'll be
it,
a
like-
fucking 40-page dossier in the comments on YouTube.
And okay,
Actually,
I am
think we're
biased
fine.
because I'm Irish Catholic, so whatever. But it's hillbilly. That's what I heard it was. That's what I heard.
It's all the urban theology here.
Sorry, it's our podcast. You can say you want, we'll talk shit, say whatever you want, and people can
I mean,
argue.
the weird thing is, you get down to Tennessee and places like that, you know, and you're talking a Scottish accent, like, wow, Swedish.
Well, no, so every time I've been in America or met with Americans, I always hear the other thing is you get the thing they go, "Oh, you're Scottish? You should have said my grandpappy's Scottish," and then they go into this whole thing about, and you're like, so not really. Then, like, even when I lived in Amsterdam, I worked with all these Americans, like Americans solely in this club, and every single one of them would have a reason how to back to. Oh, I'm from Scottish, and it was
That's
like,
one of the biggest diasporas in the world. I only found out the other day. It's probably, I think it's the fifth oldest state in the world. Scotland. But the thing is, as well, is that everybody that looks back, it's like it's all Braveheart and things like that. And you go, it's like people that want to claim to be Scottish, you go, get on there.
Yeah.
Quite right, because I'm Scottish and I claim to be Irish.
aye.
So
I'm Scottish. I claim to be Italian.
No, but
It's like fucking two generations.
I'm the
of
same.
that,
My name is Ryan John Monaghan. I come for all my things for Irish than it is mere Scottish. Like Monaghan's a county in Ireland. Everything Ryan, everything. My whole family always professed me their Irish roots and our Scottish roots. So you speak to people and you go, "I'm Irish," but they go like, "No, you're Scottish." And you're like, "Yeah, but it's like."
But it's not just the Americans either. You know, I went in a shop once in London, a chemist, to get something. And she went, "Oh, you're from Scotland." I'm like, "Yeah." Well, she didn't say in a Scottish accent, of course. "Are you from Scotland?" I went, "Yeah." She went, "I have a friend lives in Dundee. Maybe you know them."
Maybe you know them.
We're all fucking neighbours,
You go,
man.
you go like, name them.
But you've got to understand that, right? I used to.
It's something Campbell.
I never used to get mad at that though, because when I used to talk to these Americans, they would say something to me about Edinburgh. They'd go, "Oh, I got a friend in Edinburgh. Like maybe you know him," and I'd be like, "Dude, Edinburgh is like an hour away." But to them, an hour away is nothing. Yeah. See, when they're feel like America and like they're in different like states, where they driving an hour is going to see your pal. We're like an hour away. That's Edinburgh, man.
Yeah.
We don't know them.
State to state, someplace like I've got a friend, Gray. Shout out to Gray.
Gray?
Gray, yeah.
I thought you said something else there.
A friend who is, or his name's Gray.
Gray's a cool name.
So he's from Missouri. It's Biloxi, Missouri. He's right down the bottom, and he used to tell me he used to drive to go and see people, and it was like a 12-hour drive to see his mate.
No, but that's what I mean. They would say, yeah, but the roads
He
are
did say he was
straight.
sleeping as he was doing it with a beer.
No, but the roads are straight. But this is like it is like I don't know. They do have that thing where I kind of lost track of my thought there.
No, but
sorry.
He does this about an hour in every podcast. About an hour, he's like,
The dragon soup's kicked in.
Got to jog my memory,
If you
man.
say to somebody in America, you go like, you know, I've got a friend in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I just
Maybe you
humour
know
them.
them.
I just humour them. I'm like, Davey, hi, I'm Davey. I'm good mates with Davey.
In fact, I just left him.
Before we oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say it has happened before though.
Yeah.
When I worked in Amsterdam and I worked at this club, it was Coco's, it was called, and it was an Australian bar with all these Americans. They worked at it, and
we know what bars you work
No,
in
no,
Amsterdam.
but-
We know this is a lie.
but
A bar called Coco's.
it was an Australian bar, but right. And this is a true story. I'm working there, and this girl walks up to me and she goes, "You're Ryan the Dick," and I was like, "What?" And she's like, "I know this." Sorry, I don't say her name. I know this girl who used to work here that apparently had slept with before in Scotland, and now went all the way to Amsterdam, told all these people how I was a dick. Years later, I go work at the same place.
Ryan E. Dick. I thought you meant Ryan the Dick.
No, that's my dick. Just like
That's
That's what I thought you were Ryan.
the asshole.
Yeah.
Like
Like
I'm
Ryan
not
Dick.
that good though. Like that, like fucking the asshole, right? And she's like, this, and I'm like, there is no way in hell, in all these lands of things that the same girl I slept with 4 years ago came to this same pub that I end up working in Amsterdam, has told these stories with me so much that a year later when I come and I say, I'm Ryan for Paisley, she's like, I've heard about you. And I was like, no fucking way, man. I was
That's
like,
what
no
happens
fucking way.
when you bang birds that are called chastity. You know?
Chastity, Destiny, Diamond, fucking whatever.
Yeah. But there's a small world apparently, or like just a
sheep shagger joke.
well,
You know what
I used to beat the baldy man, but he didn't that.
Sheep shagger fucking, when he gets off the boat and goes like, oh, you're the sheep shagger, right? He went, Jesus Christ. Says, 6 days ago, there was a boy fell in the harbour, jumped in, took him out, heart pumping, got him into an air ambulance, off he went. Great. They called me George Saviour. Then there was a building burning down 2 days ago, jumped in, the shopkeeper out, saved most of his stock, put the fire out myself. Did he call me George the Fireman? No. Shag one sheep.
You're so on point with Geekified.
You're host number 4 officially. Before we do wrap up, obviously the massive amount of discussion has been Lenny tonight. What about Frank? You've spent so much of your life now with Lenny. Is there anything else coming up with Frank? Are you planning on doing anything?
No, well, I didn't start playing Lenny. I was 42.
Yeah.
And up until then, I'd done 20 odd years in theatre and TV stuff that was around. I always wanted to stay in one country. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Riverside's the best thing that happened because it was the first regular wage I'd ever earned in my life.
Yeah.
And I was more than happy with it. And I'd left it a couple of times, through disputes or whatever, but I've always went back. And I'm quite happy. Me and my wife are just looking forward to retirement now. At some point in the future when we can afford it. But no, I've got a family. I've got 2 boys that have done well, and a lovely missus, and Matthew and Michael. Just in case. I've got my friends that I need. I'm happy with life. You know what I mean?
Would you take anything if someone happened to offer you like a
I'm
role?
open
in
to all
some-
offers.
There you go.
There you go.
Because I was going to say that. Have you got a dream role?
Because I never really thought he'd been an actor.
Right.
So everything that's came along, things have happened and they've suited my brain or whatever. Is like, because at one point you do a sort of round of the Scottish theatres and then I just thought, this doesn't work for me. So then we started our own company, me and Martin and Kenny and Jim, and we decided we just wanted to do new plays. And Irish new plays and things like that. And we did a great 5 years at that, and then you got to move on to something else. You spend a lot of time unemployed. I mean, I'm just a jobbing actor, you go and I was lucky my wife was working, and I worked quite regularly, so it was okay, because you're bringing up 2 wains. But River City, as I say, when I first started, I thought, I'm taking a Lenny here. But once you get into it regularly, you realise it's a great job. And the people that are called it River City and all that, and a lot of actors do it as well. You think, well, I bet your 40's sitting in that office.
I not exactly as I was going to say. A lot of people will say things like,
Yeah.
and that you said that it became at the beginning about the River City thing, but like,
I don't denigrate people for
no,
that, because I've done it.
No, because but the thing is people love to slag, but they're not a part of. They love to be able to slag something when it's because no, it's all right, I'm not a part of that because that's shite anyway. When really, if they were in amongst it, and the thing is, I was even watching the most recent kind of River Cities and watching the most like the production value and everything. You can tell right now how much it's upped his game for season 1. Do you know what I mean? It's a different show, and I don't know. I feel there's always that kind of people are always going to be bitter if they're no part of it.
It's not bad. It's a natural thing. We like to. I mean, as I say, I'm the biggest moaner down there. I just complain about everything. Because I was told years ago, if you don't complain, you give yourself a heart attack.
I think you've got a right to, but is one of the you were saying before about getting a line in a script, right, and being like, how am I going to work with this, right? Now, again, just talking to myself, but being an actor, you said you're the like most pain in the arse something or something. I'm the same.
I'm a big moaner, but I always try to do it with a sense of humour.
Yeah,
same. I
You've
would
got a right to moan though, but a lot of the stuff you say, like,
I would have hung before, but it be
I don't have any rights. I just do it anyway. But
that's the way it kind of should be. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's just because you're caring.
Yeah.
Aye, you care about the character, because I've had it before when you get it and you're like, this character wouldn't say that. Like I remember, I usually like acting characters that know me, but I was in Edinburgh Fringe Festival play and I had a character that was basically me. Apart from being a diehard Protestant, it was basically myself, right?
Was it Ryan Gosling?
I am literally me, Ryan Gosling. But like, it was a daft joke, but that did. Sorry, but they was playing this character, and he was a boy for all this kind of thing. The only difference was he was diehard Protestant instead of brought up with a Catholic background. But I was like, I could get this character very easily, right? And then they had me saying things like, here in the middle of a big argument, he was in the army, right? And he's meant to have an argument, and he's meant to say like something that I can't remember what it was, but it was like, you fucking spliff or something. I was like, I'm not saying that, dude. I was like, a guy like that would say, you fucking prick, you dick. You when he go, you know what I mean? So you need to
but don't get me wrong, down at River City, they're very open. And they like to get problems out the way early because there's no point in waiting to complain when you walk on set because you have no time.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
So go around and chap somebody's door and just say, by the way, can I just talk to you? And they're very, very amenable. You know, they're great. I mean, as I say, everybody I've worked with down there, I look at now my family, it's like Jackie, Jordan, Amber. My family grows all the time. I'm just waiting for another gay one to appear.
Just keep adding them in.
Because I thought that it's weird, you know, it's just... If that and with storylines, like I go, but I says that makes me quite a cosmopolitan father. You know what I mean?
You have a child from Borneo or something coming on next time, but you fathered back in 1975.
I think it shows another good aspect to Lenny is the fact of going like he's not judgmental.
Yeah. You
know, when his daughter tells him she's gay and whatever, he's like, it's just because of the jail. And then when it gets sheds, you go like, well.
But this is again why he's a bit an anti-hero, because he's no this bad guy just because he's bad. He's no this mustache twirling villain. He's somebody that people can relate with. It's very much more along the thing of like we said, like Negan or even Thanos or something like that, who they're a bit too, you know, over. What I mean is it's that person you can go, if that was me, that'd be me. Do you know what I mean? You can relate
with transgender granddaughter as well. And that was a strange thing because you don't get the fact of saying them and they all the time. Because when I first read it in the script, said they've left the room, and I went, there's only one of them here.
I can imagine the confusion of that in the script. You're like,
but you catch it. It's weird how quick you can catch on and develop. Just going like, you know, just out of respect to people that are like that, do it. I says, but also you've got to take the fact that if I'm talking to Mulvaney or Scarlett or something like that, I wouldn't be saying they or them. I'd be talking about your granddaughter or whatever, because that's what you've grown up with, and it's very hard to get rid of. It's like all these old people, like my mum and all that, and they'd be called racist for saying, you know, like the doctor and using the D word at that time, you know. And you go, like, stop that. And then you go,
that was their
life.
But
I've always said this, it's a difference between intent. And like, you know what I mean? It's like it's a difference in intent. If somebody says, you know, the D word or it's a difference if they're like they fucking, and you're like, yo, hold on. Or if somebody's just saying it because it's a word they learn.
It's an age thing.
And it's like, right, okay, there's a difference there, but you can.
Well, we used to have quite a laugh. Me and Billy McElwain in our dressing room. The first in it and all the political correctness was coming through, and we just put a sign on the door saying "Welcome back to the 70s."
We should put that in our door. We should put that in our door.
I know.
Like, but again, so on point.
It is a thing that you go like, well, this is the way of the world now,
right?
And everybody's got to go. But I thought if you're showing characters by characters, not everybody in this place in Shield Inn would be calling Jesse the.
Yeah.
You know, it's impossible.
Yeah, would it be?
It's within the family, yes, but outside, you're doing.
You want the realism.
Politicize it.
Yeah.
You know, put it into other things. But there's good reason for it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, of course, but it is just you want that realism, but it's like people in Shield Inn would they are just.
But that's my point that I try to make, and so did Jordan, is the fact that you should slip up.
Yeah.
You know, because
that's real.
Yeah, because you go like, sorry, hen. Oh, I mean.
Yeah.
Aye. And even have the person pull it up, but be like, yeah, I would mess up because that's what
the real. Better for if trans people are watching it, you go, rectified himself.
Yeah.
Corrected himself.
Getting to see them.
But it could also show them that, like, you know, some people are set in their way, not set in their way, but like, can't expect everybody just to jump when you say so. Like, if somebody who's, you know, 70-year-old says, all right, hen, or blah, blah, maybe just let them.
No, I don't mean that. I mean within family.
No, but what I mean is, like,
you go, if somebody says it, you go, like, they don't know.
No, but that's what I mean. But I mean that somebody, can I say to somebody who's saying their 70s or like my aunt who's in her 80s, right? If I was to explain everything to her right now about the thing, she would just be like,
God, tell you fuck off.
No, she just wouldn't understand. Do you know what I mean? She just would not understand. And if I was around somebody who's, say, a friend, and I do have friends that are transgender, and if I had a friend that was around and she was like, all right, son, how you doing? There's no way that she's being bad or malicious or trying to be like, it's just, if I was to say, no, that person would long hair, they're actually a female. Wouldn't understand.
I think people understand that in general terms. You know what I mean? It's like when you're doing a drama, though, you've got to be very careful. And to my point, you've got to make it real. You know. So I thought within the family, yes. And if Jessie's in the room, I would just call her Jessie.
Yeah,
That's an easy way to do it.
You just call somebody by their name, which you would if it's family
of
anyway.
course.
absolutely.
But what a beautiful, inclusive way to end the episode.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That was absolutely nice.
That was so good.
No, this has been awesome. Well, we're inclusive as can be.
There's no other podcast where you would get Lenny for River City compared to fucking Thanos. I tell you that. That's not happened.
That's a fucking true statement, right? And it's quite a good statement. I can see it. We just need Lenny collecting rings next time.
Yeah. And we've also got a part exclusive. Frank is open to all offers of acting, just acting. He's open.
So are we, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Frank is open. Like, there you go. If you ever
We want to be Frank's non-gay family.
you want to pull him out of River City and take a wee bit of Lenny into your production, there you go. He's right here. Get in touch. But what a podcast!
What an interview, man! Thank you. This has been absolutely excellent.
Yeah,
It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you and speak to you properly.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Thank you. And you obviously, Martin left here and kind of poached you for us.
Yeah.
So it's now your job.
I don't got there.
You say you're friends with Peter Mullen, huh?
Among others.
I know. You did name drop someone else on set as well. I think Mr. Purden.
Oh, Stephen,
We'll be
Mr. Purden.
yeah.
we'll be slicking that a lot, man. Don't worry.
Anyone else you want to name drop and get him on Geekified?
Ryan Gosling, apparently.
Oh yeah. For you mean me? For real me? Like.
Because he is literally Ryan.
Anyone else you feel like could come on Geekified and have a wee chat with us? We'd absolutely love it.
Superb.
Yeah, very good. But again, thank you so much. It's been fucking fantastic.
No,
It's
this
been
has been
really
awesome.
enjoyable.
Thank you.
Good lads.
Again,
Good
thank
lads.
you. And
All the best for the future. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, thank you, man,
so
and
much.
to anything you decide to do as well, and to Lenny, and to the legend of Lenny. like, you know what I mean?
I'm hoping Lenny dies of old age.
I'm sure he's going to go out and mill more badass. A dude that
I
comes up
keep
and
seeing him as
says,
it goes on. I want to become Johnny Beatty.
yeah.
"Do you want to just sail off into
Legendary.
the sunset?"
So, no, I just wander about and get paid.
I think he's going. He has to have a badass. Fucking
I
dead
still
end.
need a wee badass.
A
thing
badass.
about him,
He has to either take save other people or murder other people and then walk out. He has to have a badass end of that.
Well, see, I put forward. It's always say to people, you get brought into your meeting, you have an absolutely brilliant story here, but at the end of it, you're dead. And we're going to stretch you out over 13 weeks.
Make it 16, I'm in.
My suggestion is you hire me for the 16 weeks. But in episode 1, I come out to talk shit, I look up the sky and go, what a lovely day, and somebody shoots me. And then we spend the rest of the series people talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
See, I still get paid for it, but I don't need it.
Yeah, you heard it here
you
first.
go.
You heard it here first. That's how it's.
Martin, anyone else from River City? You've got your story.
he knows.
here.
But that'd be quite beautiful. I'd like that. It's
That
quite
would be very
Soprano-esque
beautiful.
ending, but that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
It's just because I'm lazy.
Aren't we all?
I would also like to see you get in a blaze of glory. I would like to see.
I'm a Zimmer.
Well, let's hope it's not for another 20 years yet, so you can still get paid for the next 20 years.
A wee while left
Very
of
true.
Lenny and River City. But again, thank you very much, guys. It's been absolutely fucking fantastic.
Great stuff.
What can we do? We can do this all.
I was about to say that.
Before we do,
Don't take my
please
line.
like, subscribe, and comment if you want to. We really appreciate it.
Comment any word you want. There's plenty of words you can use. Just a comment would be great.
Even
Plenty
just
of
from you,
swear words,
on you
but
go.
yeah.
Except don't use the word comment.
And again, we can do this all day.
Much love.